Okay, we're on. I need to make this video. It's so important. I can't forget. I can't forget. No one else can either. I should post this, but I don't know if I should. For my sake, the world should know. The world should know. My father, I've mentioned him in the past, but I haven't really said much about it because I'm so afraid to talk about it. It hurts me deep inside to have this burden on my life, being someone that should be so close to me. My father is an influential man. He came from money. He came from a highly intelligent family. Now, I don't know my extended family. I don't know my grandparents. I don't know any cousins, any uncles, aunts, anything like that. All that's kind of been broken off. My family doesn't really get along with itself too well. Everybody kind of goes their own way once they're able to. And that's what my dad did. My dad excommunicated us from our family. My dad is a doctor, and he could play up being a really nice person to others. You know, to his clients, I'm sure he seems like a really good person, really helpful, and a really kind-hearted soul. But if only they knew the evil that goes on behind locked doors. This man would never walk among society ever again. Dad, I hope you're long gone by the time this ever comes out, but I don't know what the future brings. I don't know. Anyway, this will be a hard one to make. Oh my God. I'm so anxious. But anyway, enough stalling. I've stalled so long. I've withheld details for so long. I cannot forget. My therapist is going to need to see this because there's no way they're going to need it. There's no way they're not going to be able to understand me without understanding the horrors my family and I have gone through with this horrible man. So anyway, my father's a doctor. He's come from money, and he's very abusive at home. And he's always been like that. He's quick to anger, and he's terrible. He's terrible to my mom. He's put her in the state of Stockholm syndrome, I'll call it. She's very under his control, and it makes me sad because I can tell there's something that's not right with her, unfortunately. So, he comes home later in the day, probably like 5 or 6 in the evenings. Works a full day for his cushy job, his cushy lifestyle. I think he works, if anything, to make himself feel better about what he does. Maybe he also manipulates his clients. Maybe he does God knows what to them. It's but anyway, I would come home, right, and I would talk to my mom. I'd say, "Mom, is everything okay? You just seem so gone." And she'd be like, "Honey, I don't know what you're talking about." I said, "Mom, don't lie to me. I hear there's like scuffling that happens in like the kitchens and living rooms, and he raises his voice and he gets angry. It's surely not just fighting, right? Because I don't hear you arguing back." And of course, sometimes I'll hear the stuff he says, like, some of the stuff he'll say is like, "Where do you think you're going, you filthy whore?" It's just, I don't know how I can talk to my mother like that. She's such a beautiful and sweet woman, and she never says anything back. She's a deer in headlights kind of woman, She'll do anything for no one to yell at her. She'll do anything, and if it means keep quiet, if it means take the abuse, and my family members will see like the bruises on her arms, And you tell it's like him grabbing at her and holding her and like really squeezing on her and make sure he probably drags her. But while he has a short temper, he's smart. He's twisted her in a certain way. Like I've heard these things, but he would get away with it every time, right? He would tell her to make up an excuse, like, oh, you fell on like a candelabra, and each one of the little candles is what's got her in the arm, or if she had a big bruise on her leg because he kicked her, it was always I fell into an end table. Nobody ever bought it. But what were they going to do? Because he could just bury them. I don't know if literally, probably literally. But if anything, he would just get the best lawyers ever and just absolutely crush them with the best defense possible. You've been trapped by this man. And I've been repressed. So, that's the impact on my family, which of course I want them to be saved. I can imagine how terrible he's been to... I don't know if I have potential uncles or aunts or anything, or God knows my grandparents, what he's done to them to silence them. Hell, that's why I'm here. I've effectively been silenced. He takes me away from my mother so I can't get her free. I've tried numerous times. I'd leave work early with the intent of going home and talking to mom because she doesn't have to work. He's made her stay home. At this point, it's pretty much just running errands and appearances, right? And I don't know what to do. I've tried everything. I just remember the horrible things he's done. I freeze too. I'm just stuck here as this son, this whelp, He's always called me, he always called me this failure. You'll never be as great as I am. You are the embodiment of the imperfect human being. He doesn't know how much that hurts. Your father's supposed to love you, And your mother, well, she always says to me, I'm so proud of you. It's like, you don't even know what time it is, Mom. He's got you so tight in his grip. And it's sad. It's sad. But yeah, anyway, I think I got lost earlier. My mom, I've tried to save her. She's like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm perfectly fine here. And I'll have to really look in her eyes and say, no, you're not. We need to get you out of here. You're under some sort of guise. What's wrong with you? And she never responds to that. She's always just kind of blank. She doesn't say anything. She doesn't argue it. She doesn't contest it. Well, obviously, she's been conditioned out of arguing, but you can tell. There's no joy there. There's no happiness there. It's just bad. And I can't believe my dad would ever stoop this level. He's sexually assaulted her multiple times. It's traumatized me, her, and God knows how many people. Those late nights at work. Such a piece of shit. He's such a horrible person. And that part, I could never imagine. Why can he not just respect somebody's very, very personal boundaries? There's no reason for that. It hurts me so much to think of that. And it's my own father who's like this. How could somebody from such a background as his do this? Prestigious man. My ass. Made of money, but not made of morals. It sucks. And here I am, living in this townhouse. Thanks, Dad. Thanks, Dad, for everything, for traumatizing me. Thanks a lot. And it's always been his fault. It's always been my dad's fault. Yeah, I could have done well in school. I could have done really well. I could have had friends. I could have had partners in my life. But it's all taken by him. He's made me this way. He's made me his little minion, right? I'm whipped into obedience, basically, to stay quiet. And it's not what I want. So, no one wants this. What am I saying? Nobody wants this. Why should this person exist? But you know what? It gives me something to think about at night. It gives me a pleasure at night to know that this man one day will die. And I think the pleasure should be all mine. No? Now, I know that I might seem pretty horrible to say, but this man is no saint by any means, any regards. There's no redeeming qualities to this man. And to have his light snuffed out by his very own son. Ooh, the thought gives me chills even now. Even now. I've never had the urge to kill anyone except my father. It's the evil that he's brought upon everyone. And it fills me, but only to snuff out his evil. But I fear that evil. I fear that evil. Because what if the evil grows in me? I have no idea if my father has killed people. Probably. Only a sadist like him would enjoy such a thing. But only thing I've wanted is validation and love and attention. I've gotten it from my mom. Like good validation, good attention, but it's all manufactured. And the only reason being why I say that is because she's in this position. She's in this position of fear. She's in this position of manipulation. She's herself is no longer anything from her is valid, and it's so sad. I love my mom so much, but she's trapped in this horrible, loveless marriage. And it's all this terrible man. Now I fear the evil that could grow in me from... I feel the evil that could grow in me from even the thought of removing this horrible, horrible energy from this world. But there's nothing that can compare to the evil in that man's heart. Now, I know the thoughts of many would be, how could something this horrible come from someone's parents? And how could you think such a horrible thing about your own father? And isn't it a bit exaggerated? No, I don't think it is. You haven't lived the life I've lived. You don't understand what it's like to go through this. You can't say anything to me about that unless this is also your life too. And even then, don't turn your back on it. It's your life, and it always will be. To know I have this sick bastard of a father. And every night, I fight the urge. I fight the evil in my heart. Am I jealous of those who have a loving family, who have people who are genuine and real and honest? Of course. And it pisses me off. I was supposed to get that life too. Everyone else is so happy to go home. Everyone else was so happy to return to their families, into the arms of their loved ones. You know, people always wanted to come over to my house. Well, they didn't always. When I had a couple of friends, they wanted to, but they only ever asked once or twice. Twice just to be sure. Can we come hang out at your house? And I said no. And of course they'd be like, well, why not? Is something wrong at home? And I can never talk about it. I would say it's not up for discussion. And of course people probably think something small like, oh, he's embarrassed of his family's home. Or maybe they just don't have enough food to feed friends, or it's something small like that. Or just small family problems. Well, this has been the biggest disastrous family problem I've ever known my entire life. I can't think of anything as quite as bad as this. But, of course, I haven't been in those people's shoes, and they haven't been in mine. Every day, I fight the urge. Every day, I fight it. And I'm no good person by any stretch of the imagination. But I could never torture souls like that. And my father, he's gone to live for too long. But I just don't know when. When is long enough. So I don't know where I go from here. I know I can't. It can't be me. It can't be me. I'm not a killer. I'm not this horrible person. It's always been his fault. 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 My whole life, it's always been his fault. 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 It's always been his fault.